Gerry coming to you today from Guanacaste, Costa Rica. I'm back home. I had a wonderful 5 weeks in Turks and Caicos, a really life-changing, beautiful, beautiful 5 weeks. I was doing work and broadcasting from there, but now I'm back here at Rythmia. It's beautiful. There's about 60 people. Bobby Brown, my friend Bobby Brown is back. And it's just an amazing week. We're having an amazing week. Yeah, and I'm super, super excited about it. What is Rythmia? Our first, I want to tell you, the title of this one is Life Engineering. What is Rythmia? Rythmia is a place where we orchestrate these things called soul mergers. What a soul merger is, it's putting back together what has been fractured. We believe that sometime between when you're conceived and about 6 years old, you split from yourself, and that all addictions, all diseases, and all disorders, including chronic unhappiness, are a result of this split. And we use a very interesting combination of plant medicine, of breath work, of meditation, of yoga, of workshops to bring about this whole new change. Does it work? Our guests say 95.12%, which is 951.2 out of every 1,000, report a life-changing miracle during their stay. Crazy. 92.71% of them report that 6 months later that miracle is still working in their life. This is a life-changing experience that lasts 1 week. And by using plant medicines, it's a root change. It's a root change. So the root has changed, and now life looks different as it outpictures. Cool. When I was away, I was talking about a couple of different things, and I wanted to continue those talks because one of those talks got a lot of activity. And when I say a lot of activity, I don't necessarily mean the amount of views. I think it had 70,000 views, but what it had was a lot of people responding to me in Facebook Messenger and about manifestation and about one of the tools that I use, which is pre-thanking. You know, I layer in every single day of my life without I don't think, I'll bet you in the past 20 years I've missed one day. So this day of this morning gratitude, where I thank for one thing I have and one thing that I'm manifesting, one thing I have, one thing that I'm manifesting, but I thank for the every other thing, the thing that I'm manifesting, as if I already have it. And it works miracles. When I tell you it works miracles, I don't even know how this stuff works, but I believe that once you start believing it, you hear it enough, you do it enough, and you're already in gratitude because you've thanked for your children or whatever the thing is, that when you start believing enough, you start vibrating like it, and that creates the occurrence of it. One of the other tools that I use is tithing on the delta, and I want to talk to you about this because tithing is such an old-fashioned concept, and it's lost its way in most places today, except if you take a look at folks that are heavily into organized religion, it's prevalent there. But I want to talk about it here because it's a key component to this. It's a key component to this life engineering, this manifesting things that I want in my life by design. So if you notice, nothing is left to chance. Everything is by design. I want my life to look like this there, so I have to do these things now. That will never change. That's not going to change. Now, to invite the participation of the universe. Now, the thing is, this is where this gets funky, right? But to invite the participation of the universe, we tithe. So now let's talk about that because it's such an old-fashioned concept. And it has a lot of naysayers because it's usually tied to organized religion in a way that probably is not ethically perfect. Where sometimes ministers will say, tithe now so you buy your way into heaven. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about tithing in this form. Number one, it's tithing on the delta. Number two, it's for participation of the universe. So what do I mean by that? It keeps this energy flowing. So let's just talk about it. Tithing on the delta. I would never say to someone, and typical tithing is 10%, and that's from a time when they were talking tithing 10% and tithing in the Bible. Taxes were much different. So in the current tax structure, my tithe number, what I suggest to other people, what I do myself is different. I tithe more. But what I suggest to other people is 5%. That's a tithing number. And really that's 10% of whatever pre-tax number that was. But I want to talk about it. So a lot of people are saying, hey, Gerry, you're crazy because I'm barely making enough money to pay my bills right now. And I get that. I'm not talking about tithing off what exists. I'm talking about tithing on the delta. So in my book, Truthonomics, the big things, the cornerstones of that are pre-thanking and tithing on the delta. So let's go into what is tithing. Let's say I'm making $150,000 a year now. And I'm manifesting this new idea, this new business, this new skill, or the growth of my existing business. What I say in my prayer, and it is a contract with the universe, and you have to pray into it and write it down of what this is. But my prayer would be on the next 150,000 a year, the delta. On the delta, I'm going to tithe 10% or 5%. And I'm going to tithe that money. And if you make that agreement, you actually create this energetic wave that collects the universe and puts the universe on your team with you. So now what you're saying is that out of my surplus, out of my delta, that I'm going to create with the help of the universe, with God, with everything that I have, I'm going to push this much money out in tithing. Now, talk about that. So for some of us, and the thing is, this is a necessity. This is a necessity. This isn't something that's like, maybe I'll do it. I've probably tithed out $10 million. So I've done a lot of it, right? Even last year or this current year, I'm tithing $500,000 to the Rythmia scholarship program, which allows people who can't afford Rythmia to come to Rythmia. So I'm a big tither. I believe in tithing so much. Yeah. So, but what do you tithe? Now this one here gets a little funky. So you have to find something, a cause, a foundation, a charity, a neighborhood or a community deal, something that moves your heart. And when you have that thing and when you tithe to it with pre-thanking, you're setting up the universal flow. And there has to be flow because growth does not come out of stagnation. Growth comes out of movement. And in order for that to happen, and my thing with people all the time is that the end run is to be a beneficial presence on the planet. An easy way to do that is to tithe more than the next guy. And that tithing gets that movement in the right direction and circulates that money or that energy, and it comes back and forth and back and forth. And if you haven't done this, it's not gonna work. In my opinion, that if you take a look at the people that are the wealthiest in the world, they tithe or charitably contribute all the time. Now, I'm not a big fan of charitable contributions to organizations where the trickle down is 5%. In other words, if you give $100 to the organization, $5 gets to someone. I'm not a big fan of that because it's a misuse of funds. So I want you to find something that moves you, that's economically right, that you can relate to, that you connect with, and make that part of your prayer. And by all means, I know people that I've done this with, who've actually got the delta, got the surplus, and didn't pay the money. And then something, the energy of that does not work. So when you sit down and you do this, you have to be real about it. I'm going to say that the two parts that are the most important in the book that's coming out, Truthonomics, are the pre-thanking and the tithing. And if you do that and have a ceremony over it, what I mean is ceremony, I don't necessarily mean plant medicine, although it can involve plant medicine, but have a prayer, write it down, make your deal with God, because it's a deal, it's a contract. Make your deal with God, whoever you see him or her to be, whether it's the old man in the sky, the mother, the universe, whatever that energy is that you believe is the omnipotent energy, the alpha and the omega, whatever you see that as, you make a deal with that as I get this, I'm going to share it back to the collective in a particular way. And the way is this, the detail has to be in it. Not I'm going to tithe 10%. That's how, no, I'm going to tithe 5% or 10% or 15 or 20%, whatever your number is, of the revenue that I receive from this increase in income as the result of my providing more goods and services that are in line with da 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 da. You write this out, and I'm going to give that money to 2% to this, 3% to this, da 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 da. Date it and sign it. Now all of a sudden we got a deal. And I have to tell you, I don't know because I don't know enough about the universe. I don't know if it's psychological or if it's energetic, but something happens when that occurs. And it starts to open doors. And not only that, while we're doing it, for a lot of people that come from religious backgrounds where they have been schooled on the idea, and not the fact that money might be the root of all evil, or they've given people these mixed emotions about having money. A lot of times the tithing gets them over that. So in other words, if I'm making money and that money is going to go to feed the poor and to build new school or to build a playground in my neighborhood or to da 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 da, all of a sudden it's no longer just about me and my consumption or acquisition or collection. It's about me and my giving. And in that moment, I become a beneficial presence. And the whole idea of this thing is to become someone that lifts the collective, that lifts people up, doesn't drag people down, that becomes a beneficial presence in our community, in our company, in our world. We become a beneficial presence. And in doing so, that's the end run. To get there, we have to hone our skills and gifts. That's the whole idea. That's what this is about, right? So I believe that over the next 4 months, my book will be published. I'm going to get a publishing date in the next 2 weeks. I'm going to tell you when that is. I invite you to read it. I think it's going to be a very, very good book. I know for a fact this much, that if you follow the system that I laid out in there, which is the system that I use, you will absolutely get the things that you're shooting for. Absolutely. Without fail. Without fail. So please, get when you get a chance, please get that book. The next thing that I would like to discuss in your system is when we're thanking. The people said to me, when do you thank? When you do your pre-thanking? I do it as soon as I get up, and I do it at the same time every day. Usually I do it when I'm on the treadmill, which is crazy, but there's a trance effect to the treadmill. It's a repetitive motion that kind of disengages the mind, and I read my prayers right from my phone, right on the thing. I read my prayers and thanks right on the phone, right from the thing. So that's when I do it. I know people that do it. I have a friend, Mike Murphy, who's a very successful guy in Sacramento, California, that does it when he has to lay down to do it. He lays down and meditates on it. I know people that do it before bedtime. I like doing it in the morning because my memory is so short that if I say it in the morning, I'm cognizant of it throughout my day. So that's how I structure that. And this this giving away has to be ceremonial. It has to be written down. It has to be explained in detail. You see, when we set the table, then the meal is more easily received, right? So by setting the table, what I'm talking about is that I know that as that money comes in, I'm going to do this, this, and this with it. I have an agreement with the creator to do that. Now all of a sudden my table is set. I am prepared. And the more things that we do, the more thanks, the more pre-thanks, the more preparation, the more tithing, the more set up we are to receive, the easier it is to receive. The easier it is. When I see people that don't do these things and they're walking around wondering why they're in the same position 5 and 7 and 10 years down the road, it's no wonder to me. And I don't have it. I just look and say, yeah, you know what I mean? But I know that the work that has to be done in order to change our life, to become this beneficial presence, to receive the gifts of the universe, and the gifts of the universe are many, right, for us, that's work. And it's a lot of pre-work. People love to do work, while they're being paid. People don't like to do the work that it takes to prepare for getting paid. Because if you take a look at it, the work stems up here and the work rises like this, right? And then the reward rises like this. So you have this steep hill of pre-work before any of this. And so what do I call that? I call that building the road. So if you build the road to the house, that takes a lot of work. Then you build the house, that takes a lot of work. You get to live there for the rest of your life. This stuff of being in flow, when I talk about people and they point to people who are in flow, they don't know all the work that person did to get so good at what they do. Like I look at poetry in motion. Like I look at Reverend Michael Bernard Beckwith on Sunday when he is rocking, and you think, wow, that guy is a natural. He's so in flow. He's been doing it 40 years or 30 years. He's been honing it, getting better at it. When you take a look at Tiger Woods, or you take a look at Michael Jordan, or you take a look at these great athletes, it is not something that happened overnight. It's something that happens over a period of time. So when I set my expectations, and I do this all the time, I figure in terms of decades. So if you really want to start putting together a re-engineered life plan, you think in terms of decades, right? Because by the way, decades come and go like seconds. Decades, right? Know that it's going to take longer than you planned. Know that it's going to yield more than you ever imagined. Give your thanks, your system together for pre-thanks, thanks and pre-thanks, thanks and pre-thanks, thanks and pre-thanks, as if it was already received. Have your tithing set up, contracted and done. So the thing is, and then you tie it to an event, not a date. Mother God, when I receive da 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 da, this is in the writing, I will pay da 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 da, and then put in your thanks and pre-thanks as if it already happened. This is the system. This is the system that I teach. This is truth economics. This is really, really, really it. And I want you to engage in this, because when I talk about people and they start talking about prosperity, and everybody gets like fucking weird about prosperity, because they're like, should I be prosperous? Is it okay to be? It's 100% okay to be prosperous. It's really hard to be a beneficial presence on the planet without being prosperous. And I don't necessarily mean prosperous in the forms of the energetic currency of money, although that is usually a part of it. I mean prosperous in having enough to cover my basic needs and being happy and content at what I'm doing. To me, that's true prosperity, that I'm okay with building my road. The thing is, when you're building your road and you're building your house, you think, oh my God, when I get the house, that'll be it. But the real joy came from building the road and building the house. And that's why people keep doing this. So that is what I hope for you. Now, when I'm doing my thanks and my pre-thanks, The engineering of that, where I picked that from, has to be from a merged place. So if you did all of the work that I'm going to ask you to do, if you do your thanks and your pre-thanks, you set up your tithing, you research, you connect with the thing that you're doing, you have your ceremony, you sign your paper, but from the beginning you picked shit that was from a fractured place, it's not going to work. And if it does, it's going to depress you. If it does, it's going to depress you. So the key is, the first step in all these processes is to merge. That is step number one. Nothing happens properly until that happens. Everything, now I want to say, nothing happens properly until that happens, and yet everything that happens until that happens is pushing us towards it. Everything that happens until that happens is pushing us towards it. So the quicker we get this done, the quicker we stop getting pushed towards it, and the easier it becomes for us to do the work of doing this work. Because somebody said to me the other day, I was talking to someone that heard one of my podcasts, and I forget which podcast it was, but they said to me about what would you say to your youngest self? The gift that I would give to my younger self would be to let him really feel the value of time. Let him really understand how short this whole journey is, stem to stern, how quickly this life escapes us, and then therefore the value of each minute, the value of each hour, the value of every day, how not to waste a day. The life gets more precious at 50, and it gets even more precious at 60 because there's less of it to waste. My gift to someone younger would be just to be able to feel that, not to fear that, to feel that. Big, big, big difference. There are most people who fear that lack of time don't do shit. They don't do anything because they're caught in fear. I mean, to feel it, to be aware of it, to understand it, that this is really, really, really temporary, all of it. And therefore, I want to make the absolute most of it that I can. The absolute most of it. What's the shortest way for me to become a beneficial presence on this planet? What is the shortest, most stable, most secure, most fulfilling way for me to become a beneficial presence on this planet? That is it. That's what I would give my younger self. And as a matter of fact, I always was aware of it, but not aware enough of it. And I want to tell you why. I had a father who used to complain all the time about how short life is. All the time, constantly. And that did rub off on me in a way. I would like to have been taught it in a different way. But to be aware of it is so, so incredibly important, because the remorse that can engulf us if we never do this, we never do that, we never pursue becoming a beneficial presence on the planet, we never even scratch the surface of our own potential, and we look up at the scorecard, at the scoreboard, and we're out of time. No. Nope, I don't wish that on anyone, on anybody. As a matter of fact, I wish the absolute opposite. That we go through life with an awareness of the value of this life, with an awareness of the value of this time. And we use these tools, and some of these tools have to be, thousands of years old. These are simple things, right? They talk about tithing in the Bible. They talk about pre-thanks in the Bible. Like all of these things, thanking God for the things that we have not yet received. All of these things are ancient. They've been here. My obligation is to hear them and to use them, right? That's our obligation. Okay, cool. I had a wonderful, and I just got back a few days ago, and I'm just getting acclimated to the beauty that is this place. And it's so funny because I've designed a life for myself that has vacations from vacations. So I'm constantly working because there is no resting place, but I'm doing it from just amazing places. And I'm most thankful to God for that. And I'm most thankful for my awareness around engineering that, because it's a good thing. Okay, great. Thank you guys. Have a wonderful, blessed, and sacred week and a safe week. Please use these things and let's chat next week.